Deep beneath the icy waters of the Barents Sea lay the K-141 Kursk, a technological masterpiece of the Russian Navy, armed with torpedoes and cruise missiles, manned by a highly trained crew. What began as a routine naval exercise turned into a nightmare when a sudden series of explosions crippled the vessel. How could a submarine of such advanced design sink so quickly and unexpectedly? As the world watched, every rescue attempt became a battle against time, freezing cold, and the merciless power of the sea.
Join us as we uncover the hidden story of the Kursk, a tale of innovation, disaster, and the human cost of secrecy.
On August 12, 2000, the Kursk, one of the crown jewels of the Russian fleet, set out during a major naval exercise in the Barents Sea. For Russia, this was meant to be a demonstration of strength and precision. The submarine was a symbol of national pride. 508 feet long, nuclear-powered, and capable of remaining undetected in enemy waters for extended periods. Aboard were 118 men, including veteran officers and young recruits just beginning their naval careers. Historically, the Kursk stood as a symbol of Russia's maritime ambition. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Moscow struggled to maintain military prestige. The Kursk represented both cutting-edge engineering and political resolve. The crew knew their vessel inside and out. Every corridor, valve, and mechanism was familiar, yet even the smallest flaw in such a machine could prove fatal. That morning, as the men carried out routine checks and prepared for a torpedo drill, everything seemed normal. No one could have foreseen that a defective torpedo would spell the end for both the submarine and its crew.
The Kursk carried a deadly arsenal of heavyweight torpedoes, including the massive Type 6576A kit designed to destroy aircraft carriers, and the smaller Type 5365K torpedoes, guided by wakes and sonar. The Type 65, more than 30 feet long and weighing nearly 2 tons, used highly volatile hydrogen peroxide as a propellant, giving it exceptional speed and range, but also making it notoriously unstable if not handled perfectly. These torpedoes represented the cutting edge of Soviet-era naval weaponry, powerful enough to threaten NATO's most formidable fleets, yet dangerously unforgiving when combined with aging equipment and limited maintenance resources. Many Western navies had already abandoned this type of weapon. Hydrogen peroxide propulsion had caused fatal accidents in the British Royal Navy as early as the 1950s, leading NATO countries to phase out such systems in favor of safer alternatives. Russia, however, continued to rely on them for their unmatched range, up to 100 kilometers, and their devastating power, designed to destroy even the largest aircraft carriers.
At 11:28 a.m. local time, disaster struck. A torpedo in the bow exploded during the exercise. The blast was so powerful that steel bulkheads ruptured and compartments collapsed. Minutes later, a second, far larger explosion followed. The first blast had triggered a catastrophic chain reaction. Sparks and intense heat from the damaged torpedo ignited another nearby warhead. The resulting detonation destroyed nearly the entire forward section of the Kursk, killing most of the crew instantly. The blast registered as the equivalent of a 4.2 magnitude earthquake, so strong it was detected as far away as Alaska. But not everyone died immediately. In the 9th compartment, at the aft section of the submarine, 23 survivors gathered. Lieutenant Captain Dmitry Kolesnikov, head of the turbine unit in the 7th Division, took the initiative, writing letters to his family and documenting the names of those in the 9th compartment. Initially hopeful, the messages gradually grew darker. 10 to 20% chance we survive, he wrote. The air ran out, temperatures dropped, and water slowly seeped in. Additionally, a letter from Lieutenant Commander Rashid Aryapov described the explosion's cause and the chaos on board. The men considered using the escape hatch, but knew survival in the freezing waters above was nearly impossible. Ultimately, they chose to stay, waiting for a rescue that never came. Every minute Their struggle became more evident in the documents and emergency signals they managed to send. Their words painted a haunting picture of fear, camaraderie, and despair. Some even attempted to communicate with families via emergency connections, fully aware that each moment could be their last. These messages later became a critical testament to human courage and tragic helplessness. Above the water, confusion grew. The Russian Navy lost contact, but withheld crucial information. International aid was immediately offered by the United Kingdom and Norway, but Moscow initially rejected it. Days passed before foreign rescue teams gained access. When Norwegian divers finally opened the escape hatch, it was too late. No one survived in compartment 9. They perished in total darkness, slowly suffocating. Investigations after the disaster revealed a troubling picture of both human and technical failures. The explosion that sank the vessel was traced to a hydrogen peroxide leak that came into contact with a catalyst, causing the failure of a Type 6576A torpedo in the forward torpedo room. But it wasn't just the systems that failed. Poor communication, political pride, and outdated technology hampered rescue efforts. The disaster was a stark reminder that human errors and secrecy can be deadlier than any enemy, even for the most advanced machines.
In 2001, the wreck was partially raised in a massive salvage effort. The recovery was carried out by Norwegian diving company DSND alongside Dutch firms Mahmoud and Smit International. Mahmoud provided heavy cranes and expertise in lifting in large damaged objects under extreme conditions, while Smit International handled maritime and underwater operations. Divers first had to cut 26 holes into the submarine's hardened steel hull. Once complete, the Kursk's shattered bow, still possibly containing torpedoes, was carefully sawn off using a specially developed cable saw.
For the lifting operation, the crane vessel Giant 4 was deployed, equipped with 26 hydraulic cables and an advanced wave compensation system, allowing the submarine to be safely lifted from the seabed. The specialized diving support vessel DSND Mayo assisted dive teams who worked in 6-hour shifts and spent 28 days in saturation chambers. Because the bow was severely damaged by the explosions, it remained separate from the rest of the submarine during recovery to ensure stability. Shortly after, the Russians detonated the bow, officially to remove dangerous torpedoes, though many suspect it was also to conceal military secrets.
On October 8, 2001, the Kursk was finally lifted from the seabed. When the Kursk reached Russia, the final and most delicate task began: placing it into a naval dry dock. To accomplish this, 2 specially built pontoons, the Mar and Gon, were positioned beneath the Giant 4 to lift it higher. The process was plagued with leaks, ballast shifts, and technical failures, but on October 23, 2001, the Kursk was laid to rest in the dock.
The disaster caused widespread outrage, both in Russia and internationally. Families received answers only slowly, and many questions remained unresolved. President Putin faced criticism for not cutting short his vacation in the early days of the tragedy. Yet the entire crew was posthumously honored, and monuments were erected across Russia to commemorate their names. There are memorials at the Kremlin in Moscow, in Polyarny and Severomorsk, and individual gravestones in the crew members' hometowns. These sites honor both the technical achievement and the tragic human cost, providing a place for families and visitors to reflect. The Kursk thus became not only a military loss, but also a national symbol of failure, grief, and remembrance. The event led to a revision of Russian submarine protocols, new emergency communication procedures, and stricter safety requirements for torpedoes and other weapon systems. The Kursk tragedy demonstrated that technology alone cannot compensate for human error and highlighted the extreme conditions of underwater operations, where every second counts and every mistake can be fatal. Today, the bow of the Kursk still rests on the seabed of the Barents Sea, a monument to the 118 men who gave their lives. The wreck stands as a silent witness to ambition, technology, and tragedy, reminding us that even the mightiest machines are vulnerable to nature, and that human errors are often deadlier than any enemy. The ocean forgets nothing, and sometimes it reveals the cost of pride, secrecy, and the limits of technology. Subscribe to Archive of the Deep for more stories from the ocean's depths, where history, tragedy, and mystery converge.